Welcome back to Devil's Tales, where the darkness finds us in the most unexpected places. I'm your host, and tonight, we're stepping into a world most of us never see. The sterile halls where life ends and final farewells begin. Death is a business. Creatures of the night, someone has to prepare the bodies, someone has to make the traumatic look peaceful, the broken look whole. It's quiet work, precise work, and for most people in this profession, it's just another job. The story I'm about to tell you came from someone who knows that world intimately, a mortician who learned that some burdens can be passed along, and that kindness to a stranger can become your own personal hell. Our mortician, let's call him David, had seen it all. Car accidents, suicides, overdoses. Every tragedy that ends up on a steel table had passed through his skilled hands. He thought he understood death, thought he understood suffering. Her parents spoke of it at the funeral arrangements, how she'd complained for years about a physical weight on her shoulders, how no one believed her, how doctors called it anxiety, how friends called it dramatic, how family called it all in her head. What he couldn't have known was that her death wouldn't end her suffering, it would only relocate it. Every morning, without fail, there he was, waiting by the entrance, swaying slightly like a reed in wind that didn't exist. And every morning, the same routine. Spare change, son? Just a little something. For an old man. Days turned to weeks. David's pity curdled into annoyance, then dread. The skeletal figure became a daily nightmare he had to navigate just to get to work. That outstretched hand, those hollow eyes, that raspy plea. Son, just a little something. David's sleep began to suffer. Dreams filled with hollow, staring eyes. His colleagues noticed the change. Jumpy, irritable, constantly on edge. But it was like talking to a wall. The old man showed no reaction, no fear when David called the police, just patience. Infinite, unnerving patience. Standing there, watching the police drive away while the old man remained exactly where he'd been, David felt something break inside him. A wave of defeat so complete it was almost physical. Exhausted, beaten down, David reached for his wallet. He pulled out a $20 bill, not insignificant money, but enough, he hoped, to end this daily torment once and for all. Here, take it, and please, just go. The old man's skeletal fingers plucked the bill with surprising nimbleness, and for the first time in weeks, something changed in those clouded eyes. A glint, not gratitude, something else entirely. His lips pulled back into that grimace smile, wider than ever before. It sent ice through David's veins. Without a word, the old man turned and walked away. He didn't look back, rounded the corner and was gone. The spot where he'd stood felt suddenly, strangely empty. Relief flooded through David like warm water. Finally, it was over. The $20 had bought his freedom. That night, David slept soundly for the first time in weeks. Deep, dreamless sleep. The kind of rest that comes after a burden is finally lifted. He had no idea he was about to receive a much heavier one. David woke up heavy. Not emotionally heavy, physically heavy. His shoulders burned with deep, aching pain, as if he'd been lifting weights all night. His neck was stiff. Every movement felt like he was carrying something substantial. He shuffled toward the bathroom, the crushing pressure between his shoulder blades intensifying with each step. It felt real. It felt like actual weight pressing down on him. He flicked on the light, looked in the mirror, and screamed. There, perched on his shoulders like some grotesque gargoyle, was the old man. Cross-legged skeletal limbs wrapped around David's neck and head, fingers resting on his temples, smiling that triumphant, knowing smile. David could feel every ounce of his weight. The crushing pressure was undeniable, real. His muscles screamed. His spine felt like it was compressing under the load. He spun around, hands flying to his shoulders, expecting to grab the intruder and throw him off. Nothing. His hands met only his own skin. There was nothing there. And then it hit David. The young woman. The suicide victim whose body had started all this. Her parents' words echoed in his mind. She always complained about a terrible weight on her shoulders. A physical burden nobody else could see or understand. She insisted it wasn't just a feeling, it was real. This was her weight, this crushing, invisible burden that had driven her to end her life. And somehow the old man had been carrying it. The old man had been the ferryman. By giving him money, by completing that final transaction, David had purchased more than the old man's absence. He'd bought the transfer of something ancient and terrible. The relief David felt when the old man left. That hadn't been freedom. That had been the moment the weight changed hands. Every reflective surface became a source of horror. Shop windows, car mirrors, even the dark screen of his phone. Each time the old man was there, perched and smiling, waiting. He remembered the young woman's parents. No one believed her. They said it was just a feeling. Now David understood. It wasn't just a feeling, it was real. Crushingly, unbearably real. And every time he catches his reflection, the old man is there, smiling, waiting. The young woman had found her answer at the end of a gun. David prays he's stronger than that, but every day the weight grows heavier. This story terrifies me for a very specific reason. Creatures of the night. It's not about jump scares or supernatural monsters. It's about the weight of human suffering and how it can be passed from person to person like a contagion. Think about it. How many times have you encountered someone begging, someone desperate, someone who seemed to be carrying an invisible burden? How do you know what you're really being asked to take on when you help? The mortician in this story did what most of us would consider the right thing. He showed compassion to someone who appeared to need it. He gave money to a desperate old man, a simple act of human kindness, but sometimes kindness comes with a price we never see coming. Sometimes helping someone means taking their place in a cycle we don't understand. The truly horrifying part? David is carrying this burden alone, just like the young woman before him. No one believes him. No one can see what he sees in the mirror. Because the weight has to go somewhere. The suffering has to live in someone. And the only way to pass it on is to find another person willing to show compassion to a stranger. Kindness is a beautiful thing, creatures of the night. But in a world where suffering has to live somewhere, sometimes the kindest person becomes the next victim. Thanks for joining me on another journey into the darkness with Devil's Tales. If this story made you question every act of charity you've ever considered, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales that blur the line between helping and being haunted. Until next time, remember, sometimes the weight we carry isn't our own. And sometimes that's exactly the problem.